Special thanks to these companies for being long-term partners of this channel.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Zach, and here we talk about overlanding gear, builds, DIY, all sorts of stuff related to modifying your vehicle. I specifically own a 5th gen 4Runner though, so sometimes it kind of tends to lean in that direction. I try to do a lot of modifications though that are pretty universal, but today we are going to be doing something a little bit more 4Runner specific. So I don't know about you, but if you're one of those 4Runner owners out there, I just find that I'm constantly running out of space. Maybe this is just a camping thing, or I just have too much gear, but I feel like I never have enough space for gear. And because of this, I try and find ways in which I can kind of bolt gear different areas on the vehicle, or I just try and find ways where I can add functionality to the vehicle without having to pack it inside. And that's one reason why I've always really liked these mini ladders. Now, I know a lot of people make the jokes like the widow ladder on the back of the 4Runner, or you know, they make all these little jokes about the ladders, but I actually think they're still super useful. They do look kind of cute, and maybe there's a lot of people that don't really use them for their purpose, but I specifically got one because I'm kind of gearing up towards having a rooftop tent on my vehicle. And so I wanted to have the ladder up to the tent built onto the vehicle rather than having to haul around one of those collapsible ones, because honestly, I think they take up a fair amount of space, and having the little ladder on the back of the vehicle is a nice way to not have to pack that ladder. Not to mention, you can buy a lot of different accessories where you can bolt stuff onto the ladder. A lot of people like to carry one of those spare tire bags, whether you're trying to carry firewood in there or just trash. You know, that's a really nice thing that people will hang off those ladders. You can also buy like Rotopacks brackets so you could haul water or fuel or something like that. So, you know, there's just tons of different ways in which this ladder is super helpful. And from the research that I've done, I think C4's is one of the best, if not the best on the market right now. I haven't been able to find anything that indicates otherwise. It seems like it's bulletproof, and it's pretty nuts. I can just like jump and shake the ladder, jump on the back. It's crazy how strong the connection is that the ladder has to the tailgate without, you know, really needing to do some pretty crazy modifications to your vehicle. The 3M tape and the couple of bolts that you use to install really do a great job of holding this ladder on the rig, and it feels really sturdy. So that's enough of me talking about why I think this ladder is so important and why I think it's a really nice modification to add to the list. But let's jump in and let's actually start getting this thing installed on the vehicle. So let's get into it. First, we're gonna do kind of an unboxing and assembly, then we're gonna install it on the vehicle. So let's jump into it. All right, let's check out what we got inside. As far as I understand, this is the bottom plate that's going to bolt to the bottom of your hatch. This is where the bottom of the ladder will bolt in with these little tabs on the end of here, these two. Then we're gonna put some felt inside here. These 3 bolts will bolt inside the tailgate. Should be pretty slick. This is the plate, I believe, that you slide in through the handle. I was watching their video. We're gonna put some little snap nuts in each of these holes. I'm not gonna cut that because I know that there's these rubber inserts for grip. Actually saw them when I was looking at, when I was building my rooftop tent. I looked at those to potentially fill in the aluminum extrusion around the hinging part of my tent. So these are pretty sweet. So you just take this, pops right into extrusions. That is a firm press to get that to stick in there. So nice thing is these grip strips are not going to go anywhere. So there's one rung of the ladder, I think they're called, right? Cross parts, a rung. Alrighty, so we've got this all laid out. I'm just trying to figure out what hardware will go with what. It was a little while since I watched the video. When we look at this, they've got, it looks like, if we do 6, 12, 18, 19 of these bolts This one just might be an extra one. These I presume we're gonna use to mount these ladder pieces. Then we've got 8 of these bolts here, the carriage bolts, these short ones with the square head. And they have 8 matching lock nuts like here. You can tell that they're a locking nut, flange nut I think they're called, because they've got this little texture inside there. We've got 11 washers. We've got these 4 tiny little screws, which I presume are used to hold on these logos. Look there, see, little guys. Then we got our 3 nuts. So let's just go ahead and start assembling this. Whenever you're working with aluminum extrusion stuff, always kind of loosely assemble it first and then go from there. So let's just get after it. So when you're putting the anti-seize on these bolts, make sure to put as low profile, like a bead on here as you can, because if you put it too tall, it's gonna rub on the powder coat. And from my experience, anti-seize loves to eat up powder coat. So I always try to keep it away from it if I can. It seems to always ruin my powder coat. Okay, I'm going to put all of them on one side first, just to get it started. It probably doesn't matter, but now what you want to make sure you do is this plate. So you've got the one piece which has this right angle at the bottom. This right angle needs to face inward, and then this plate needs to go on the outside. So just make sure you orient everything correctly or you're gonna be frustrated. I started out and I accidentally noticed I had the plate flipped around, so I quick backed up and changed that before you get too far into the install. So we're gonna stand this up here just like this. Nice thing is the plates, they have a specific contour, but I don't think the left or right exterior plate is unique. I think they're identical. So you don't need to be too picky and choosy about what side goes on what side. All right, let's get that lined up. All right, so we've got 3 of the steps attached, and now we need to just figure out exactly how to attach the top piece. So let's slide this down a little bit. Okay, so I just did this off camera, but there's one of these short carriage bolts. We run those through the outside, and then it comes through, there's a flat washer and then a flange nut. And I did that on both sides. I also toss a teeny bit of anti-seize on there. I don't know if it necessarily matters, but these flange nuts look like they're stainless steel, so I'm gonna add a little anti-seize on there as well. Now that we've got this at least partially assembled, I'm going to put on the C4 plates. I was gonna put them on, but I just didn't want to put them on upside down, and I figured it was kind of a waste of time if I put it on and then I had to flip it around. So now that it's all ready to go, I'm just gonna set these up. I'm gonna put just a teeny tiny dab of anti-seize on these little teeny bolts. I doubt I'll ever take them out, but just never hurts. And these use, I think, a 3/38 Allen key. So, sorry, 3/32 Allen key. Also, just watch your hands every now and then. If they're really getting full anti-seize, you probably want to wipe them off. All right, got those mounted. Now we can start tightening down the step bolts. What I was doing was just making sure that these 2 plates were lined up super well. And then you can crank down these bolts. Don't really need to tighten them too hard, just tight enough. I don't know if that's like 20 foot-pounds or so. Not very tight. If you've got those like socket Allen keys, this wouldn't be too bad of a time to just, crank those out and then put on like, I don't know, 20 pounds or so, like I was saying. Because you really don't need these to be too tight, but since there's anti-seize on there, they aren't gonna seize up and hold for you. So just make sure they're not too loose. or your ladder starts falling apart. I'm also, every time I tighten these, I'm just sliding the ladder plate ever so slightly. Make sure that they all hold nice. Okay, so we took their foam here and then we just cut it to the length of this bottom plate. Basically just following their instructions step by step. So I cut it just a teeny bit long so that it'll overhang on the edges a little. Maybe that's necessary, maybe not. Okay, so to put this in here, it's a little challenging, but it's not terrible. So we try and get it to fit right down in the bottom. I think I did an okay job. I don't know if it's quite perfect, but it should do the trick. So the big thing is I think this bend right here is the most important one to protect against, because that's what's gonna, I don't know, they're both important, I guess, but got that piece installed. On to the next thing. There's a little bit of flexibility left to right here, so if you're pulling while you're pressing it down, you're gonna have some extra. So I'm just gonna trim this off the end here with my scissor. This foam is extremely sticky on the back. Might just leave the ends a little bit long, provide some extra protection. All right, so we set that aside because we don't attach the ladder to that until this piece is mounted on the vehicle. So now I think we're gonna move on to putting the top plate on the actual ladder. So let's jump into that. All right, so I just cleaned this off nice and good. Just make sure there's no little pieces of dust. Then we're gonna lay down this double-sided tape. This stuff is really sticky. So I'm trying my best to, I'd recommend a pretty sharp scissors. These scissors are not that good, but whatever. Okay, so this is all pressed down there. Now let's run another strip right up here. Seems like they almost did 4 passes, but maybe not. So I've got a teeny bit left. I'm gonna actually see if this helps with the fitment, but I'm a little worried that this little edge here is gonna rub on the vehicle, and with watching their install, I'm gonna stick a little bit. So this is not part of the instructions, but see how I have it kind of coming up the edge a little bit there? I'm gonna add a teeny bit right here and maybe right even there. Just, I don't know. It can't hurt. I don't think it's gonna add too much thickness to where it's a problem. Maybe that'll help a bit, I don't know. Hopefully this doesn't cause installation issues, but I think we should be okay. All right, so now that we got that on, we can actually put this on the ladder. We just wanted to get this tape put on before you attach it to the ladder. It just makes it a lot easier. We've still got our 4th step to attach as well. So, all right, so what we're gonna do, first put in these 2 carriage bolts. Again, I'm just gonna toss the teeniest bit of anti-seize on these. Need a flange nut and a washer. So let's grab this here. This should go right there, just like that. Take one of these carriage bolts, teeny bit. The bolt doesn't stick out too far, so I'm just putting it a little bit on the end. So the nice thing, since they're carriage bolts, there's a square head that's locking in that little hole there, so this should be pretty straightforward to all tighten up. All right, oh geez. Okay, we're gonna come back here and loosen this step, because sneaking this in here is turning out to be a little tight. There. All right. There we go. Now Got 3 of these left and 4 carriage bolts left. That's looking about right. So we've got probably 3 washers there, 4 for this. And then those 3 nuts. These 3 nuts just pop into this plate. So let's see here. Hook one on one side, and you just press in enough. They don't fit in there super tight, but that's okay. I believe when you put it in, they face the other direction, so when they pull tight, it doesn't matter that they're loose. Hook that in there. All right, those are all good to go. Another thing I forgot to mention is I put some of this foam right here, here, and here. That's in the video. I forgot to film that part, but that's what we did. Looks pretty slick. All right, so now we're getting to the point where we almost need to just install this on the vehicle. But I need to go print out the template. I wish they would include the template just as a piece of paper in the packaging, but that's all right. I think my neighbor's got a printer. Surprisingly, our printer broke, and so I don't have a printer. So let's go grab that template and we'll run out to the truck and let's actually see how we're gonna get this marked so we can drill some holes in the tailgate. All right, so we got the template taped on, drilled our 5/16 holes, and now I can take the template off. I did drill pilot holes for each one. You can also use a metal punch to make sure you're centered, and then drill those holes. All right, so this is some paint matched paint I have for the 4Runner. I just painted that in the little holes. You can pick up a thing of this from Napa for like 15, 20 bucks. And then you've got a color patched paint that's the same type of paint for your truck. So, all right, we'll let that dry. Let's close the hatch here, and I'm gonna actually measure out everything and clean it up so we can do the top portion of the ladder and we can get that connected. Okay, so this is kind of a mess, but I've got a bunch of silicone in each one of these nuts, and I'm hoping that's gonna help keep these kind of waterproof. I've also painted the holes up there, and we also, you know, maybe we'll try and get some silicone around them. Just trying to prevent rust. Here in Minnesota, rust is inevitable, so the more the better. All right, so I've got all that good to go. Let's just do a dry mock up here real quick. Just to see how it's gonna come down. I think that's probably perfect. Sweet, all right. Well, now time to remove all of the sticker backs here for the double-sided tape. Pop this stuff off. Let's grab our thick piece of cardboard here. let that sit up there a little bit. I'm gonna put 2 of these bolts in before I go up there and stand on anything. So before I close out the video, I just want to show that I bought these lift support depot struts. So they're an OEM strut replacement. These are my OEM struts. We got the new ones installed here, and all you do is you just pop off this little ring, and then it hooks in right there at the top and then right there at the bottom. So really it's a super easy install, and you're gonna want to do that if you're getting the new ladder, because your hatch won't open without new struts. Just to show a little closer look, these are the little rings you pry back. Once you do that, you can easily just pop these struts off. It's super straightforward. The thing I found is you have to actually push your hatch up farther than it typically would go when it's like at full extension from the strut. And once you do that, these will pop off super easily once you've pulled back that little metal clip, and yeah, then you're good to go. So yeah, these I'll probably just save them as replacements, but they were starting to go anyways, so now I've got brand new struts on my tailgate, and it lifts the ladder super easily now. All right, well, we got the ladder installed on the vehicle, and I really like it. You're gonna see the ladder in most clips and videos and photos that I post because it's such a nice piece of equipment, and it's fairly permanent on the vehicle, but I love the way it looks. And for a lot of you out there that maybe don't have a rear bumper, or you don't have like a spare tire carrier, I really like this ladder because it kind of spices up the back of the vehicle a little bit. I find that the front of the vehicle looks a lot cooler in photos and videos and things of that nature, so adding the ladder on the back just kind of adds a little bit more aggressive look to the rear of the 4Runner, which is pretty sweet. And not that looks are everything, but it's fun to have a vehicle that looks cool and is very functional as well. So for those reasons, you know, that I've talked about before, where I feel like this ladder is actually really functional, it looking cool also is a benefit. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like to have a vehicle that looks cool too. So if you like this video, if it brought you any sort of value, maybe it helped you install your ladder, or you're just looking at these and you're trying to decide which ladder to go with, I think C4's design is awesome, and this is actually their version 2, so they've redesigned it a little bit. I think they've probably made it even a bit better. And so that's what I like so much about this ladder, and I appreciate you all coming back and supporting the channel. If you like what I'm doing, consider subscribing and like this video again if it brought you any sort of value, because it helps me out and it helps other people know that other people like my content too. So thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you all in the next video.